Good morning. First thing, I want to welcome the media for this morning press conference relating to the release of the political financing report by the National Konsultatif Committee on Political Financing. You should have a copy of the press statement and also a copy of the report itself. And as you know, the Konsultatif Committee on Political Financing was formed by the Prime Minister on 14th of August amidst growing interest on the subject. The task is daunting, but it's also an important step forward in realizing the Prime Minister aspiration and also the country aspiration to see improvement in our democratic system. And you know that we have looked at the political financing in other countries, and one thing that's very clear for us is that we lack regulation in the area of political financing, and we need regulation because over the years we have seen, and many of us has realized, that there is an increasing monetization of politics in the political arena. And the area of good governance and integrity in the country cannot be resolved unless we deal and improve and enhance political integrity. Therefore, we need to regulate political financing. We are not saying that there is no need for money. The use of money in political campaign and election, we realize there is a need, but we have to manage it to make sure that we reduce the number of abuses, and we have to manage it in a sense to make sure that there are not too many adverse consequences coming out of them. So the committee has met for 12 months to find ways constructively to resolve issues. We are pleased that the task has been completed in the stipulated time frame. We are supposed to present it or finish it by August. So we have actually finished it by August, but because we need some further consultation, there's a slight delay until today. The committee and technical committee have had 11 meetings, 19 roundtables, discussion, meeting with interest groups at various places, and including we have gone down to observe the Sarawak state election to get a first-hand observation of what's happening from the political financing side. And also, we have looked at the 2 by-election that were conducted. And from there, we get information and provide the adequate input to the consideration of the committee. The committee has consulted a wide range section of stakeholders, including some members of political parties. We have an international conference, input from international experts, and also we have NGOs and members of the civil society. And we have also received a written submission from others as well. And therefore, we have a very constructive engagement get input from a wide section of our community, including the international expert. Basically, when we discuss and make our recommendation, we identify 6 key guiding principles that underpin the steps to be introduced. One is the principle of supremacy of the rule of law. That means once you implement, first thing must be enforceable, as well as fair, enhancement of civil participation, preferably if accountability can be made and disclosure can be made to the public and better, protection of civil rights, transparency, accountability and integrity, and healthy political competition. Because we do believe that we need to regulate political financing because monetization, excessive monetization of politics do undermine the democratic process. So it is important for us to correct any weaknesses and to create a healthy ecosystem to support our democratic process. The recommendations that we made, 32 recommendations that we made, are divided into 3 categories. One is the implementation process, the need for a new law, and we did deliberated and recommended some principles or provisions of the law. And then the last part is, of course, the consultative process is not just the end. Political financing and the reform of the political institution takes us beyond today, but also in future. First thing is that we recommended that there should be a new act. We have looked at various ways of going about regulating legally, whether you should amend SPR, MACC, or election. There's so many related acts, or for that matter, the ROS. But having said it, the process and the effectiveness of legislation in other countries, we strongly believe and recommend that we should have a new act called Political Donation and Expenditure Act. Specifically, it deals with political donation as well as the expenditure out of that political funds that we receive. Or the political party or individuals politician receive. So the recommendations is this. First thing is that the crux of the act, it involves the establishment of a controller. Because someone must be responsible for supervising and enforcing the act to make sure that compliance is there. And this act will create the office of the controller, and also he will be always supervised by a board comprising of credible and trusted figure with no active politician. The appointment of the controller should be made by this board so that it's independent and it is not influenced by the executive of the government or any other political parties or political individual. Okay, and on the oversight by Parliament, we propose Parliamentary Standing Committee on Political Financing should be created, and the Standing Committee is to scrutinize the work of the controller on behalf of the Parliament and should comprise of individuals from both the political divides. So it should be a non-partisan membership, right, that looks over the work of the controller. Donation, first thing is specifically cash donation coming from foreign sources should be banned. We have said that before. It should be banned for reasons that we do not want foreign interests to influence the sovereignty of this country, because political institution in this country has to be safeguarded in regards to its national sovereignty. Donation to political parties and individuals, here we're covering both parties as well as individual politicians, must be regulated, and all donations must be deposited in specifically designated bank account. So today, it could mix up with personal account, for example, and it could be mixed up with party normal administrative account, for example. And it makes it very difficult to identify what is political donation and what is just income from other sources, for example. So to make it much more a better oversight, we have suggested that special account be designated to receive political donation as well as to spend according to that account. And this practice, mind you, is very common, almost without exception. All countries provide for that. And the political parties must have organizational bank account, so it's not just the main branch or the head office. It must go down right up to the federal, state, divisional and branch level. Everyone must have a special account and must be transparent. And the parties at each level are responsible to keep detailed records, documentation of all income and expenditure in and from the account, and they are responsible to obtain the services of auditor, certified auditor to audit the record and prepare the audited financial statement for submission to the controller between a specific time. All this can be specified in the Act when we formulate it. Donation to political parties should be tax deductible because we believe that money given to politics is a genuine, expenses to support the political process. And money from unknown sources, if money were donated and cannot explain, that money will be confiscated, should be confiscated under the new Act. And we believe that there should be no cap on the amount of expenditure. Because we believe that if people want to donate more to a particular individual or a particular party as such, because they believe in the standing and the credibility of that party or individual, and they want to support their manifesto or what they stand for, then by all means. So we don't restrict the amount of donation. And especially even if you have individuals themselves, independent individuals, they should be able to receive support financially as much as possible. But of course, our main point is expenditure, and the amount received must be transparent. The disclosure must be there, and audit must be done. Okay, so, and in the area that, another recommendation that we make is, in today's world, some politicians or political parties may wish to tap the internet for crowdfunding, for example, they want to tap the internet because there may not be too many other donors, but they want the support of the people, and they want to tap the internet and to ask contribution from the citizens. And citizens may contribute, from $10 to 500 ringgit and so forth. But we have put a cap of 3,000 ringgit. So this is to facilitate crowdfunding. That one can be anonymous because they are coming small amount, and as you can see, in many crowdfunding exercise overseas and also recently here, you can see that you can raise millions of dollars even. But we give credit to that's our funding because why? Because the more popular a politician, the more people identify with him, the more people we believe in him, they can contribute. So that's also an indication in a sense, the popularity of the particular politician or particular party. But of course, anything that is made above $3,000 and is not declared or disclosed, then it violates the provisions of the Act. And if you read the Act, we did say that anything not disclosed automatically makes the donors and the recipient can be considered as gratification, and can violate the MACC Act and such. Right? So that provide, we believe, an effective deterrent and self-regulating, so to speak, provision in terms of disclosure. The other area that we believe that some state funding should be provided, not in the campaign side, because we believe when individuals, the adons or the wakil rakyat, when they are already elected, they have to serve the people. And one of the issues that is very clear to us is that many of them needs the support of service center and also researcher to help them to research on some of the questions or issues for them to ask in Parliament, and for them to understand the problems of the people in their constituency. So they have to service the staff, they have to service that center, and we believe that it's the responsibility of the state to provide a sort of funding for them, for the elected representative to carry out their function more effectively. And the other area is donors who are connected to government, state-owned enterprise, GLCs, should be prohibited from making contributions because they are part of government, and probably their funding also comes from government. So GLCs, state-owned enterprise, must be or should be prohibited from making political donation. And companies that receive contracts, concessions, or who are in benefit of government concessions or government contract at that time should at any time during that period at any time should be prohibited from donating either to individuals or political parties. That is made purely because we want to make sure that we do not want to encourage an unhealthy nexus between business and politics. This is not healthy, and especially when donations are made purely to influence government policy or procurement, and it makes whoever in power obligated to give back any favor because of donors and the obligations there is. So we have to cut off the nexus between business and politician in the sense of political funding. And on the other hand, we do realize where donors are known, there could be some victimization or reprisal, so to speak, of the government in power against individuals or donors that gives to a political party or individuals which is not in their favor, so to speak. We hope that in future, in a more mature democratic society, such a thing will not happen. But in reality, we just want to safeguard this, and we want to make sure that donors are not victimized just because of their donation to a particular individual or party. And therefore, the government of the day should look at the way the administrative process is being made in the area of procurement, concessions, and everything should be made as transparent as possible and should be based on the merit of each case. Alright, so with that I want to end, and this reform, this transformation that is proposed by the committee, is something that we believe that this is what the people wants to see, and we just hope the political parties and political individuals will take heed of what the people wants, because we cannot move to a high income level without a major political system, and that includes political financing itself. So this is part of overall strategy of improving the well-being of Malaysia and to enhance the political integrity as well. So with that, I'm open for questions. We gave you the report. I understand you may already have some time to read the report, particularly the recommendation. Oh, okay. The process is going to be like this. Before it goes to Parliament, the government of the day has to formulate the act. Making the legislation is the job of the government and of Parliament. So what's going to happen is this: this report, I will take it and present it to the cabinet, and the cabinet will have to look at the proposal. And as I understand, the process is once the cabinet approve it, they will start to get the proper ministry or agency within the government to draft the act, and in that case probably to draft the Political Donation Expenditure Act, including some of the recommendations that we made, and of course including various other recommendations when they come up, when the experts start to draft it, including the regulation, so many things, right? And also including what other acts that they may have to amend, following the SPR Act or the MACC Act or the ROS Act. We don't know. So we leave it to the expert. Once it's finished that, then the draft of the act will be tabled to cabinet, and that's where the minister concerned will present it to Parliament. Which one is that country? G14. Okay, originally when we first announced, we said that probably it should be implemented before G14. That I'm assuming that G14 will be in 2018 because that's where it's supposed to come. So I don't know when G14 will be held now. Of course, preferably, but if there is a change of schedule, we may not be in time. But definitely, we will be in time for G15. Definitely, So this is a challenge. This is a challenge.
Can you use the mic?
Maybe another source first. We'll come back to you. Yeah.
Okay, morning, Dr. Liu from Singchu Daily here. The opposition always express their concern about the regulation on the political funding. They said to regulate it, to name or identify the donor will give a chance for the ruling government to trace the donor. You also mentioned about one of the recommendations is not to victimize the donor. But even though donor express their view not to disclose their identity, if like you set a cap below 3,000, but nowadays 3,000 is not much. I would like to donate more than 3,000, but I don't want to be identified. So how to address this type of concerns?
Alright, first thing is our principle that we follow is we want politicians and political parties to be accountable and to be transparent. So disclosure, the amount you receive and to the donors basically has to be disclosed. That is in line with other countries actually, right? So the issue is to what extent you're going to make the donors public, right? But definitely disclosure we have to make to the controller, isn't it? Otherwise, how do the controller supervise? So we have to make it to the controller. So the issue is to what extent and details that the disclosure should be made. So, but the discretion must be given to the controller as well, and we hope that the supervising body. One is that the disclosure must be made to the controller, and the controller must keep it under wraps. That's where the independence and the integrity of the controller is absolutely important. So only the controller will know the names, right? But on the other hand, the controller can publish information even without disclosing the donors. Can publish for the fear, as you mentioned, about the reservation. So it's not just the opposition. I believe even the government in power also feels disclosure may frighten people, about the donors. So we have reached a stage, so we believe that the donors can be disclosed, must be disclosed to the controller. And we hope, as time goes by, we should be politically mature enough to allow full disclosure to the public. In the United States, for example, you have individual companies saying, I am donating such and such amount to the Republican Party. And there are many says, I am donating such and such amount, not to the Republican Party, but to the account for Hillary Clinton, for example. So they have no problem disclosing all that, and no reprisals goes against those donors. So we hope that Malaysia will move to a level of political maturity that people can donate to any party or any individual they can without being victimized. But we do realize in practice we need time, gradual change to be done.
Jadi Datuk, saya Nurul Huda dari TV3. Datuk ada menyebut tentang memasukkan sumbangan melalui account bank dan sebagainya. Bagaimana pula dengan isu wang dalam sampul, wang yang diberikan secara tunai?
Which one can you?
Yeah. Cash.
Cash.
Cash. How do you monitor that?
Cash in envelopes, quietly.
One to nine. Okay, I suppose in actual situation.
Inner donation.
Oh, okay.
Similar.
We start with third party first. Third party. Okay, third party donation. Suppose the individual or the party, even without him requesting for donors, like orang or another person say, I will spend 100,000 for the bunting or the banners. Then suddenly the individual say, hey, I didn't ask for this individual to donate, but suddenly I saw all the bunting supporting him, right? And you don't have a clue where the party began. So what we're trying to do is that's where the provision of the Act we should say that any third party donation that is above the 3,000, the onus will be on the donor. So the owner must disclose it to the controller that I'm going to spend 100,000, for example, for candidate X. Now, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's not corruption. It's not wrong. And I'm going to do it and inform you, this is the amount I spent on the bunting. Then the controller got the information and then it's okay. But if he go and spend the money and without telling the controller, then the investigation will be done. So when the investigation is done, they trace to the source that who paid for the bunting or the ceramah, for example. Then they found out is Mr. So-and-so. Then we hope the provision of the Act will say that because of the person did not inform the controller, that become an act of corruption and can be prosecuted under the Corruption Act. So this is how we try to cater for this. So for cash, for cash, it may be a bit tough because cash you receive, you don't even go to the account, you just go straight. Cash is not traceable. But then it will come up in the expenditure. Again, cash is some area that we probably, when they discuss the Act, they need to look into detail of it. But well, you cannot have a perfect system actually. You may not be able to have a perfect system. But I think our purpose, basically, if you took the Act, first thing is our priority is to make sure that we deal with the big amount first. The Act, the Cash Act, to give the big amount, you got to get a lot of lorries and everything, So not so easy.
Datuk, bukan saja cash, Datuk. Bagaimana pula dengan sebuah hati seperti rumah, tanah dan sebagainya?
In kind, semua in kind, benefit in kind. Okay, anyone?
Datuk, I have a question here.
Where you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Can you introduce yourself first?
yeah, I'm Trina from Straits Times Singapore. I just want to ask, what is the biggest challenge in actually implementing this proposal that you've drafted?
The biggest challenge, well, I would say that is to get the Act passed. I would say that, because we are, and I'm confident that as a minister in the cabinet and being the chair of this, it's also my duty to make sure that it gets through. But whatever it is, it's the government of the day who ultimately will have to pass the law. But I believe that in the case of Malaysia, we have reached a level of political awareness, if you like, on this area, and I believe that there will be a strong demand from the people on the politician to regulate political financing. Everyone knows that when we look at all the countries in the world, we are one that has hardly any regulation at all, and this is not healthy.
One question.
What you were talking about protection of donors that they will not be victimized. How will that be so? Will it be in law? Because you mentioned hopefully that we reach political maturity. It doesn't sound that there's any recommendation for any specific protection for them. Become victims.
First thing is this. Although it's not part of the terms of reference of this committee, but in terms of government administration and transformation within the government itself, they have to make sure that their process of administration is done with good governance and integrity. That means procurement should be open, concessions should be also open, so the disclosure as well as the process of awarding should be transparent and should be based on good grounds, So regardless of who you donate and who you are affiliated with any party, you do stand an equal playing field in terms of getting government business, for example. That should be the principle. That should be the principle. So I myself, within the government, on our transformation program, within government, will have to make sure the transparency in procurement and all the others, government administration, is done in a proper manner. This is one way. But there are some donors, in order to have their insurance, they probably donate to everyone, on both sides. Sorry.
There's a question.
Tanisha from Channel News Asia. You say that these recommendations have to be tabled to the cabinet, and first, do you anticipate that there will be any resistance or things will be amended in this process?
I would table it to cabinet. My tabling can be very fast. That means within 2 weeks, I can do it. The issue of drafting the laws and debating about it, now we are going to very detailed provision of the law. That may take some time because it's a completely new act. It's not just an amendment. A completely new act. That may take some time. And of course, I will push the shortest time possible. But that will take some time. And that's not within my control, so to speak, to determine. But definitely the government of the day should know the spirit of what we are doing and the awareness of the people, and if I can say, even the demand of the people. So a government who is responsible should respond to the need of the people.
So sorry, just quickly, sir, do you anticipate, could there be more changes in that process though, because the debate and all that might mean that what you presented might
There may be.
altered?
There's a question there. There's a question.
I think my question is similar
Same.
to the last.
Okay.
So even though you come up with 33 recommendations,
32.
32, sorry. So there's no final recommendation, as what you said. There will be maybe amendments on the drafted bill, right? Right? Maybe the cap for 3,000 maybe increased to 5 or
Yeah, they may change. They may
Okay.
change according,
Thank you.
and they may put it smaller. We don't know. So some of this threshold at 3,000 and all that is just what we believe. Okay.
Any other question?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other mic. Say, hang on a minute. Mic coming behind you. There's a mic coming behind you. Yeah, the microphone is coming.
So that's what the controller will come from the government or opposition or NGO and appointed by who?
We don't know, but we would prefer that it appointed by the governing board. And the governing board should come from prominent people, respected people, I suppose, from the society, and not from politicians, those holding political office. So we just hope by that we will have the independence of the position of the controller.
And appointed by who? The government or?
By that, I think probably if I know the process, the appointment should be made by the king on the recommendation of the governing board. One of the areas you all may miss is why isn't a cap on expenditure and on the donation? Are you going to ask a question? If not, I ask for you. You may miss that. You may miss that. You may miss that. But I thought that I need to clarify rather than you later on bringing to the secretariat or to myself. The reason why we don't put a cap is because any cap you put in will be a matter of your opinion, you know. And let me give you an example. For example, if you are a candidate for an urban area, for example, all you need is 70,000 ringgit because everything is within reach, you know. But if you are a candidate for a rural area, say in Sarawak, that it covers a lot of land, even the transport itself is more than 70,000. So no way, if we put a cap at 70,000, would you be able to have adequate financing for your campaign? For your campaign, because of the nature and the vastness of your constituency. So if you put a cap there, it will be unfair for those candidates. It will be unfair. And bear in mind that one of our principles is to make sure of fairness and make sure that the democratic process is being enhanced, not restricted. So therefore, we feel, the committee feels that there's no need to put any cap on that. Okay? But at the same time, we want to make sure everything accountable. That's why we hinge on the fact of strong accountability and disclosure. If not to the public, but definitely to the controller. Okay? That's the reason why we don't put any cap at all. That means the amount that is kept by SPR, I think about 250,000, will have to be amended to suit this recommendation. Yeah. So that's how.
Yeah. Mr. Umar, the pembentangan. Can I know the figure that you set for the 3,000 cap? Because I can only see that figure in terms of limiting the donations to the political party. In what kinds of verdicts or any aspects or factors has been taken into consideration by the task force in order to determine that 3,000 is already enough for the political party to gain? And second of all, is there any basis of reports in terms of financial that need to be tabled to the controller?
Okay, that 3,000 actually, frankly, is just a matter of opinion given by us. The reason why we put the 3,000 there, because we do realize that in today's world there is raising through the internet, crowdfunding. So some people may donate $10, $20, So we just believe that 3,000 is a reasonable figure, and if the government feels that it should be down lower, by all means, you know. But the point is that what we believe is there must be a threshold to support crowdfunding. Because crowdfunding, people donate $10 by credit card. You can't be asking for disclosure. No? Now, who knows? One family may have his own children for their future. They donate. No? We don't know. So different are people. So in order to facilitate that, that's why we have to put a cap. Whether it's 3,000 or not is a matter of opinion. We discuss that, we changes, you know, but we generally feel that 3,000 is a reasonable figure. Alright? So 3,000, when they receive, it will go into their special account. They have a designated account. Right? So that also will be reported to the controller that I received that from crowdfunding. You know, crowdfunding. Probably I received 2 million ringgit in all, but out of 150,000 donors. You know, internet donors. So that's okay. That's okay. But by the way, in order to safeguard that you don't put too many, 3,000 too many times by one source, also we do need to put some provision that you cannot be multiple of 3,000 from the same source. Then it just abuse or bypass the provision of the limit, and that should not be allowed. But that has to come with the amendment of the Act.
The basis of the report,
Basis of the report?
yeah, I mean, the report should be, is there any basis or requirement to people to report from any political party?
Yeah, the controller, this is where the function of the controller will have to specify under its garis panduan or not garis panduan, more the regulation that they have from their act, I presume, the manner and the detail and the timing of the report. In our recommendation, we did mention some timing. You can see that, and that is something to be worked out. And the controller will definitely have the duty to publish those reports to the public in whatever time, so the public can examine the details that is determined by the controller.
Dato', cadangan ke-17 tiada dalam kertas ni, tapi bila saya cek di website, ia menyatakan sokongan pihak ketiga dianggap sebagai satu bentuk pendapatan oleh penerima. Apa maksudnya?
17 is what? 17 is yeah. This third party support must also be informed to the controller. The onus is on the third party, on the donor, because sometimes the recipient doesn't know, doesn't know the third party, especially when it's done. Right, so the third party must inform. Of course, if the third party just donate to the account of the donor, of the recipient, then the recipient look, hey, how come I wake up in the morning today, I got $500,000 in my account. Siapa donate? Doesn't know. Then he will have to inform the controller. Out of my account last week, I received this amount. I don't have a clue who really gave to me. So under the Act, if it is made in such a way, that become an anonymous donor, and that will be confiscated after a period of time. That should be. Okay?
Tapi apa yang saya faham, ia merupakan sumbangan pihak ketiga merupakan income kepada recipient, receiver of the monetary income.
we have to look how to reconcile the act. How they reconcile the act.
I think it's a translation problem.
Yang recommendation 17 tu, third party tu dia bagi tanpa pengetahuan penerima.
If the amount tak masuk the account, but he pay for the banking, then that one becomes the expenditure of the candidate. For example, the banking says sokong Ali Rayat such and such a name. That one will be included as part of the expenditure. But actually, it's just disclosure only. Please bear in mind there's no limit to expenditure. So you can get a lot of third-party support provided you must declare.
Dato', look at recommendation 13. What if the foreign donor get land and eventually the party sell it to get money? So will it be a loophole?
30.
Yeah, recommendation 13. 1
Non-cash from foreign sources. From foreign sources.
Yeah. What if the donor donate a land and the party
Okay.
eventually sell it to get money? So will it be
You're talking about the word cash there. Cash. So if the donor donate in kind. Okay, I would put it like this. We will have to look at that. I think that's where the Act comes in. The Act will have to define what is cash donation is. They have to define it according to the definition. By right, if it is for campaigning for anything, whether cash or in kind, it should be banned. It should be banned. It should be banned. If in kind, like training program, for example, to enhance our member of parliament, that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be a problem. What we're afraid of is just an outright donation. This is what. But again, that can be dealt with the definition in the Act.
From the last press conference, you mentioned to us there were several engagements made. There were several engagements made to the political parties, be it the opposition or the government. Can I know, were there any first impression from both parties about your final draft of it?
Actually, the engagement was done by individuals. What we do is this, quite frankly, we prepare this report and we can engage with the political party after that. There will be a lot of discussion based on this report. Various over a period of time we have engaged them, those key individuals that who has an influence. We prefer that we present this report and then after that we can also engage.
Okay, Dato'.
Because at the end, they will be the one who will pass the law in Parliament. But basically, in the sense that a lot of these recommendations, I believe, is representation of the people. And political party and politicians is an interested party. Alright? So, in the sense that the process itself allows for an independent recommendation to be made before consulting them.
Doctor, can I bring you to recommendation 50?
15.
Yeah, 1-5. The donation to political parties and individuals. It's quite clear for the political party you have to open a certain bank account. But how about, you mentioned about individual, let's say like I want to donate certain amount to certain politician. That politician said like PJS or PJU, he or himself have to open the individual bank account or the bank account should under the party name?
No, okay. First thing is donation, can it be made to the party or to the individual? Okay? So what is required here is we want to make sure that donation is accounted separately. So we are recommending a special designated, dedicated account for both party and individual. So the individual need not transfer his donation that he received to the party, okay? He can keep it for himself. Because there are many instances the donors only want to donate to the individual. He is not interested in the party because maybe he believes in that individual. So to be fair to the individual, he can have his own account, but it has to be a specially designated account separate from his own personal account. Okay? So the same thing goes with party. And in the party, as we say, there are branches, there are divisions, there are so many others. We expect them also to have separate accounts. So it's very clear cut. We can trace the source of financing and the expenditure as well. Okay? Oh, I already said when I'm able to cabinet. When? I was saying that I can try to do it in 2 weeks' time.
Dato',
Last
here.
question.
Yes, here. So you mentioned earlier that it's going to be difficult to get it done and have the law drafted, passed, debated and passed by GE14. But in provision, recommendation number 26, there is a mention of a partial implementation by GE14 whereby it is sufficient for the donor identity to be disclosed to the controller. So technically, should I just ignore this if this doesn't come into it?
No. I think sometimes we put a timeline. This is what we expected. But even to implement it itself, partially or in any other way, you still need an act. And you still need a controller office to be established. Because somebody has to administrate it. So, depends on, as I say, when the GE14 will be held. So, the issue is definitely we have to get it out within, if you ask me personally, I would say within a year it should be out.
So if in the event this cannot be passed in time by GE14, then what actually can be done to assure the public that that there is some form, even if it's minimal, abysmal, but there is some form of control or supervision or transparency to oversee political donations?
Very little can be done, quite frankly, because you can only do something where you are empowered by the law. If you're not empowered by the law, if you ask me to disclose, why should I disclose? Under what law, you see? So, and as I mentioned that in Malaysia, we hardly have any law to regulate political financing. This is an issue. For years we have this problem, right? So that's why we are trying to correct it. So I don't believe, we can have, I suppose, NGOs going down, saying this is done not right, that not right, but that's about it, So it can be only administrated under the present laws. There can be the election law, the 250,000 for example, the MACC law, and some of that. And as I say, that these laws today may not be as effective to deal with political financing. So, no more, okay? I think that's enough question. Last one, okay, last one.
Isn't that a concern that if, let's say, a candidate can be influenced by a private businessman who donates a larger sum, a huge sum of money?
Yes, because that's why we have to regulate political financing.
So, no, as in the no cap thing, don't you think that there is concern that if you...
No, but they have to disclose. They have to disclose. Our basis is on disclosure. It's on disclosure. Okay, so
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much. Can we have a photo session
Yeah, for
to get all
members.
my committee members? That it's the whole committee and they represent different section of society, right? Right, so it's a consensus that is given to this.
Datuk,